Hi everyone, it's Scott. If you've built something that you love and it's broken, you're going to spend some time and fix it. Or if you're a king and you want to be a blessing for your countrymen, you'll take some time to address some of their most pressing needs. Or if you're a prophet of God and you want the people to hear the message that God has given you, you'll do some things that only God can do to get their attention. Or if you were from heaven and you wanted to give the people a glimpse of the greatness of heaven, you might peel back the curtain once in a while to display heaven's beauty and its wonder. Jesus did all this and more with his miracles and works. Let's see for ourselves. We're going to now jump into a quick study of some of Jesus's miracles and great works that he did for the people. I'd like you to know that there is a slide at the end of the video with all of the works and miracles that I was able to find, roughly 37 of them. That slide is at the end of the video for your review, for your own personal study. You can take a screenshot of that and do your own studies for it. It's wonderful reading. But with that, let's get started here in Matthew chapter 8. In verse 1, it says, "When he came down from the mountain, great crowds followed him. And behold, a leper came to him and knelt before him, saying, 'Lord, if you will, you can make me clean.' And Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, 'I will, be clean.' And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, 'See that you say nothing to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priests, and offer the gift that Moses commanded for proof to them.'" So here a man with leprosy, Jesus touches him, and the man is cleansed from his leprosy. Next, in Matthew chapter 9, verse 27, "And as Jesus passed on from there, two blind men followed him, crying aloud, 'Have mercy on us, Son of David.' When he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, 'Do you believe that I am able to do this?' And they said to him, 'Yes, Lord.' Then he touched their eyes, saying, 'According to your faith, be it done to you.' And their eyes were opened, and Jesus sternly warned them, 'See that no one knows about this.' But it says here, 'But they went away and spread his fame through all that district.'" So here, men that were blind, couldn't see, and Jesus, "According to your faith, let it be done to you," and their blindness was healed. Miraculous and wonderful. Next, in Matthew chapter 14, verse 23, "And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on a mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat by this time was a long way from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified and said, 'It's a ghost,' and they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, 'Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid.' And Peter answered him, 'Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water.' He said, 'Come.' So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, 'Lord, save me.' Jesus immediately reached out his hand and took hold of him, saying to him, 'O you of little faith, why did you doubt?' And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. And those in the boat worshipped him, saying, 'Truly, you are the Son of God.'" So in this miracle and work, not only did Jesus walk on the water, but he called Peter to come to him as well. So Peter was walking on the water also with him. Again, we talked about getting a glimpse of heaven, pulling the curtain back just a little bit. This is an amazing, amazing thing that Jesus did here, himself and Peter. If you think that that's not a big deal, go try to walk on water yourself, and I think you'll find out. When it's not frozen, I think you'll find out. Next, Matthew chapter 15, verse 32. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion on the crowd because they have been with me now 3 days and have had nothing to eat. And I am unwilling to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. And the disciples said to him, Where are we to get enough bread in such a desolate place to feed so great a crowd? And Jesus said to them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7, and a few small fish. And he directed the crowd to sit on the ground. He took the 7 loaves and the fish, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 7 baskets full of broken pieces left over. Those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. So Jesus increased the loaves, increased the fish, to such a degree that over 4,000 men and all the women and children were able to eat and be satisfied, and they would have 7 baskets full of broken pieces to pick up for leftovers. Miraculous and wonderful. Next, here in Matthew 17, verse 24, when they came to Capernaum, the tax collectors of the 2 drachma tax went up to Peter and said, Does your teacher not pay the tax? He said, Yes. And when he came into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, What do you think, Simon? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others? And when he had said from others, Jesus said to him, Then the sons are free. However, not to give offense to them, go to the sea and cast a hook, and take the first fish that comes up, and when you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Take that and give it to them for me and yourself. Right out of the mouth of a fish, a coin to go pay taxes with. Right out of the mouth of a fish. Miraculous. Next, we have in Mark chapter 1, verse 21, it says, And they went into Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and was teaching. And they were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one who had authority, and not as their scribes. And immediately there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit. And he cried out, What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God. But Jesus rebuked him, saying, Be silent and come out of him. And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying out with a loud voice, came out of him. So the demons are subject to the authority of Jesus Christ, and this poor man was possessed by a demon, and he was relieved of that ailment, that demonic possession. He was relieved of it by Jesus telling the demon to get out of him. And so Jesus fixed that man's situation miraculously, and it's wonderful. Next, in Mark chapter 5, verse 38, they came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and Jesus saw a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he had entered, he said to them, Why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but sleeping. And they laughed at him. But he put them all outside and took his child's father and mother and those who were with him and went in where the child was. Taking her by the hand, he said to her, Talitha cumi, which means, Little girl, I say to you, arise. And immediately the girl got up and began walking, for she was 12 years old, and they were immediately overcome with amazement. Jesus has the ability to call someone back to life with his word. Miraculous. This is nothing short of a miracle, bringing someone back to life. Next, In Mark chapter 7, verse 32, and they brought him a man who was deaf and had a speech impediment, and they begged him to lay his hand on him. And taking him aside from the crowd privately, he put his fingers into his ears, and after spitting, touched his tongue. And looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And his ears were open, and his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. And Jesus charged them to tell no one, but the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. A man deaf and dumb, Jesus opens his ears, Jesus opens his tongue, his mouth, and now he's able to speak. Glorious, wonderful. Next, in Luke chapter 7, verse 11, it says, soon afterwards, he went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a great crowd went with him. As he drew near to the gate of the town, behold, a man who had died was being carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and a considerable crowd from the town was with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her, and said to her, do not weep. And when he had come up and touched the bier, and the bearers stood still, and he said, young man, I say to you, arise. And the dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized all of them, and they glorified God, saying, a great prophet has arisen among us, and God has visited his people. And this report about him spread through the whole of Judea and all the surrounding country. Again, with a word, just a word, he was able to bring someone back from dead and present him to his mother and carry on. Just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Next, we have in Luke chapter 8. It says, one day he got into a boat with his disciples, and he said to them, let us go across to the other side of the lake. So they set out, and as they sailed, he fell asleep. And a windstorm came down on the lake, and they were filling with water and were in danger. And they went and woke him, saying, Master, Master, we are perishing. And he awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, and there was a calm. And he said to them, where's your faith? And they were afraid, and they marveled, saying to one another, who then is this, that he commands even winds and water, and they obey him? Indeed, who is this man that wind and water obeys? It's the one that created the wind and the waters, telling them to cease and be still, and they obeyed. Next, in Luke 17, verse 11, on the way to Jerusalem, he was passing along between Samaria and Galilee. And as he entered a village, he was met by 10 lepers who stood at a distance and lifting up their voices, saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. And when he saw them, he said to them, go, show yourselves to the priests. And as they went, they were cleansed. But then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. And he fell on his face at Jesus' feet, giving him thanks. Now he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus answered, were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner? And he said to them, rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well. 10 lepers cleansed with a word. Go and show yourselves to the priest. And 10 lepers cleansed of their leprosy. Wonderful. Next, in Luke chapter 22, verse 49, and when those who were around him saw what would follow, they said, Lord, shall we strike with a sword? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. But Jesus said, no more of this, and he touched his ear and healed him. So a man had his ear cut off. Jesus picked it up and reattached it to the side of his head. Miraculous. Wonderful. Next, John chapter 5 says one man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I am going, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, take your bed, and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his bed and walked. 38 years, invalid, hoping to be healed. Jesus shows up, and the man is healed. Wonderful. Next, John chapter 5, verse 36. But the testimony that I have, this is Jesus speaking himself, but the testimony that I have is greater than that of John. For the works that the Father has given me to accomplish, the very works that I am doing, bear witness about me that the Father has sent me. Here Jesus is making reference to the works that he is doing and how the Father, his Father, God, has sent him to do these works and to teach the things that he's teaching. Is proof enough. The works that he is doing is proof enough that the words that he's saying are also true. And we should bear that in mind, that these miracles that he is doing all over Israel, all over, are verification that God has sent him and that the words that he's teaching, the things that he is telling them, are also all true. Next, in John chapter 10, verse 24, so the Jews gathered around him and said to them, "How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly." Jesus answered them, "I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name bear witness about me, but you do not believe because you are not among my sheep." So once again, Jesus is calling to pointing to the works that he's doing as validation of who he is and who sent him. Next, in John chapter 11, verse 38, then Jesus, deeply moved, again came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." So again, Jesus, with a word, calls someone back from the dead into the land of the living. Amazing. This is Lazarus. He was dead 4 days, and Jesus called him back as a witness of who he is and what he is and who sent him. Next, in John chapter 21, it says in verse 4, just as day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, do you have any fish?" And they answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because of the quantity of fish. So here, Jesus, after his resurrection, meets with his disciples and tells them to cast the net to the other side of the boat, and they'll catch some fish, and they caught so many They couldn't bring it in. The hall was too big for them. So yes, we see a number of Jesus's amazing, miraculous miracles, glorious miracles where he's helping people, he's curing people, he's feeding people, he's raising people from the dead. Just glorious. And we've just scratched the surface here with the ones we've looked at. There are many, many more wonderful works and wonderful miracles that Jesus performed. The wind and the waves are obeying him. He's walking on water. He's raising people from the dead. Glorious and wonderful. Let's go back out to the park and wrap things up. A few questions jump right off the page after that brief review of Jesus' miracles and works. The first question is, which miracle is or work is the most impressive for you? I know for me, the most impressive is when he raises someone from the dead. I think that is amazing. We had the widow's son raised from the dead. We had the little girl raised from the dead, and then we had Lazarus raised from the dead. I'm stunned at those miracles. They're wonderful. Who has ever done such a thing? The second question that pops up off the page for me is it reasonable for Jesus to say, look, if you don't want to listen to what I'm saying, if you don't believe what I'm saying, at least look at the works and the miracles that I'm doing as proof that I have been sent from God? I think that it is fair, because no one else could do such works if they weren't sent from God. And if they were sent from God, if he's a prophet sent from God, then we should listen to him if God has sent him. The third question is, can we expect Jesus today to be able to do such miracles and works now that he's been resurrected and ascended to heaven? Is he able to do those types of miracles now? Well, I think that answer is absolutely yes, without question. And then lastly, is there an area in your life that you need a miracle? If that's the case, go to Jesus. I think you'll be stunned at his response. I pray that you do. God bless you as you do, and then spend the rest of your life following Jesus. Until next time, bye now.